Hi, everybody, and welcome to Astrospeak for June 13th, 2024. I'm Sue Hillyard, and I'm here with our host, Michaela Villiers-Kendall, Rav Chahal, Nia Fyler, and Robin Grabfelder. So let's see, I guess, shall we just jump in, Michaela?
Let's do that.
Okay, well, the first chart that we have here, and when we were talking before we started, it seems like so long ago, but it was just it was just last month. Pluto station retrograde. It got as far as it was going to go in Aquarius this time, just barely into the second degree, and now is headed back to Capricorn for one last hurrah to finish up some old business, shall we say. So what do you guys think?
Yeah. Well, let's hope it lets the patriarchy have it this time.
Well, this is their last ditch effort to hold on.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well,
Definitely.
and like any other, last hurrah, it can be horrendous. I expect, the 3 months between September and, what is it, September and November? All of September, October, and into November. I expect those 3 months to be interesting.
Yeah.
As the
I see a
Chinese say.
Yeah, I see a fire-breathing dragon.
Yeah, they're not going to go easily, are they? Gentle into that good night.
No.
No.
The phrase "wake me up when it's all over" comes up to mind.
Before you go, yeah. Oh, well, at least
yeah.
we know they're on the way out, but yeah, as you say, Sue, it's going to be a bit of a rough passage. So, but hey, we know that's going to happen.
Well, and yes, and the only, we have to go through it to get to the other side. And, I think the only way to get through it is to be aware of what's going on and to, be active.
Right on.
Yeah.
And that Mars and Aries throws fuel on the fire.
Yes, my God. Yeah. Yeah. So it's all kicking off. I mean, it already has, but I don't think we ain't seen nothing yet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're
Well,
just in the first Jacobian scene, we haven't seen the third scene yet.
Right. Yeah. Yes. And, we've got a lot of things kind of brewing, on different continents, in different arenas, all sorts of things going on. So,
But like
and
rivers to the sea, they all flow to the same reservoir, so to speak.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I feel, if you look at the current ruler of that Pluto in Aquarius, it's that Uranus in Taurus. And for me, it's been very much coming back to looking at planet Earth as a collective human race, seeing that we're all connected, we're all from, that origin is oneness. And that, of course, links back to that Saturn in Pisces transit that's happening for right now. And I feel as we go through the retrograde and back into Pluto going back into Capricorn for that final hurrah, it's that kind of looking back at what we've structured and what needs to be restructured in a new way, revolutionary way. So once Pluto goes direct in October, I believe it is, right? It's going to be a brand new start, a new perspective, and hopefully, and this is, I'm a glass half full kind of gal, hopefully for the best going forward, and seeing all this tension, the wars that are happening between countries, between people, and between even belief systems, break away, and that's hopefully the direction we're going in, and we can hope for that.
Yeah. It's the mass. I mean, that Chiron in Aries too, and we just had the eclipses in Aries, the last one, the solar eclipse, and then in near the autumn equinox, the Libra one.
Yes.
It is the masculine and the feminine out of balance when it comes down to it, which they have been for thousands of years, in fact.
Yes.
But now it's sort of reaching a peak because we're in a world that's so conjoined, and yet it's not. We're seeing that it's not conjoined at all, that our separateness is really glaring out, and that we have been made separate, even that people have been made separate by their governments, by their authorities, the patriarchy, and
Yes.
that negative masculine principle. So we need, the great father masculine principle back, but it's the wound, isn't it? Chiron in Aries, it's the masculine wound. So the feminine is beginning, the feminine fighting back, I guess that's Athena, Libra, isn't it? With the nodes in Libra.
But also that natural Lilith, sorry, Michaela, natural Lilith retrograde in Sagittarius, coming back to the natural feminine power, which has been distorted in the patriarchal world, and coming back to what's original.
Yes,
that's the direction that we should be aiming towards.
Yeah, and the people, they're getting to see that. There is the awakening, and they are awakening to the horror of it. But as we were saying earlier before we started, that's what has to happen. We have to see it, and we have to see it in all its vivid technicolor horror, really, because it is horrifying seeing that we thought the world was one way, and we really were. We sort of did see it one way, that it was not perfect, but that the modern world was so improved in history, and yet we're seeing now there's an underbelly that hasn't improved at all. In fact, it's just as barbaric as it ever was, and ignorant thousands of years ago, which is stupendous. But that's what we're seeing, and so we're realizing that the people, Pluto and Aquarius, have to make the change, because their governments aren't going to do it, because their governments are all part of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And in that same place, not only governments, but corporations and everybody who is in power over dominance and wealth in this world today.
Right. Well, governments and corporations are all same.
Hand in hand. Yeah,
exactly.
They're people.
The corporations are almost more powerful than the government, aren't they? I think they're sort of
definitely.
Well, yeah, they were declared
countries.
people in the United States.
Yeah, it's diabolical. But the individual has to feel, instead of feeling powerless, we have to start realizing our power. And that's the great thing about astrology. It teaches us that as individuals, we are powerful. We're not just isolated and separate. And that's what the transits are telling us now, that we have to reclaim our power as individuals in order for the collective to get rebalanced.
Yes, I think that was a big part of the message of the eclipse conjunct Chiron.
Yeah, definitely.
The solar eclipse conjunct Chiron, just before this period.
Which was the US Chiron return as well.
Yes.
So that was,
it wasn't it almost exactly, I think.
Yes.
If I remember.
So that really speaks for, obviously the US is the world leader, and as the world leader, that masculine principle right there, Chiron, saying, okay, but there's a wound here, that it's the shadow, the shadow has to be seen, and so.
And addressed.
Yes.
There is an empire here, that the Roman Empire never had the sun set on it, but it just got taken over by the Church of Rome, and then by European powers, and then America, and so that's where we are now. It is an empire still, but the sun is setting finally.
Winter is coming.
Winter's coming. Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, shall we move on to the,
Yeah, sure. Got quite a lot to look at, but yeah.
yeah, the brighter things?
Yes.
We have the Sun-Venus conjunction in Gemini,
Mm.
which was what, just last week
Yeah. Yeah.
or 10 days,
Yes.
10 days ago now, 9 days ago. Seems like
Mm.
it's all this
Like-
Gemini, one after another. It's like
Let's talk about love, baby. Let's talk about you and me.
You
Let's
and
talk
me.
about all the good things and the bad things that can be.
Very
Let's
good.
talk
Yeah.
about love.
Let's talk.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Gemini,
Gemini.
Let's talk about the
Venus
truth.
in Gemini, conjunct the sun. Wow.
yeah, and
Yeah.
Leo
Mercury
energy and
conjunct
Gemini
Jupiter.
energy making love.
Mm. Interestingly, the half cycle, of course, 4 years ago, because it's an 8-year cycle, as we all know, the Venus cycle with the sun. So the half cycle was 4 years ago when COVID was just starting up. So that had reached Europe and America, I think, about March, wasn't it? February, March
March.
2020.
Yes.
March was the big
March.
lockdown.
Yeah.
Lockdown.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we had the Venus superior conjunction, wasn't it then? Would have been.
Yeah.
Inferior, wasn't this the superior?
Oh, was it? God, I've noted
Yes,
it down.
because this is superior.
Okay.
So yeah.
Sure, of course.
Yeah, but it was in Gemini as well.
Interesting
Right.
in Gemini. So we're sort of now looking back at that, and I know, they said about conspiracy theories and that sort of thing, but now I think we've learned so much more about what our governments have been up to. I'm believing because I don't think the conspiracy theories are exaggerated. I think they go off course, but I think there's a grain of salt in all of them. Yeah.
Well, there
exactly.
always is. It starts with a fact and then gets distorted and
Exactly.
built on, to
Exactly.
And then there are powers that want it to be distorted to
Exactly.
Exactly.
suit
And
their
ridiculed.
narrative, and they start with something that there's truth in and then distort it so that people
Mhm.
can trace it back to truth, but then they get spiraled into a whole delusion.
Yeah. And I think
yeah.
that's even encouraged.
Well
The
said, Robin.
spiraling is, yeah, exactly. It's
think
encouraged
that-
spiraling to that because that makes people look at it and say, oh, they're just a bunch of nuts who think, these conspiracy theories are too wild.
Exactly. And cast them out as crazy people. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's that. And delegitimize them. I think the
Yeah.
best thing I learned from the X-Files is Mulder saying the best place to hide a lie is between two truths.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
definitely.
Absolutely.
That's
Yeah.
very
And
true.
that's sort of what we're being shown now with this
Gemini.
conjunction in Gemini, along with the
Yes.
new moon. The new moon even fell on D-Day, which is the 80th anniversary, which I was talking about the other day. And it just, I watched it, the 80th anniversary, and it was just like such propaganda was coming out of all these leaders' mouths. It was sheer propaganda, and it was rubbish. And as I said, my father fought at D-Day, and we went to the memorial services and everything else, and all took it all very seriously, of course. But it's like, my God, the government's, and then you realize they've been lying to us all along, even back then in the war and everything else. It's like all these layers of lies are now being dug up, and it's, yeah. Again, but that's Gemini, isn't it? It's like it's showing us it's the reality of the situation.
Yeah.
Showing us
It's also the
dual
duality. It's
truth.
the fact that nobody,
Yes.
it's not that everybody understands that this is, Maya and an illusion. Some people believe the story,
Yes,
believe the words, believe
Yeah.
the information.
sure.
And
Well,
it's
I think-
used as a spin, a spin to somebody's advantage. But you know what I love about this conjunction is that the ruler of the Sun-Venus conjunction, Mercury, is conjunct Jupiter.
Mm.
Right. Right. Yes, of course. Yeah.
That Mercury Jupiter is right on my south node, and the Sun Venus is right on my moon.
Oh my goodness.
Personal
Yeah, they're right
connection.
on my Mars. That's where my
How-
Mars is.
how-
It's right there.
How did you feel it in your life, Robin? How did this
Yeah.
play out?
I felt a lot of my nervous system got very on edge,
Agitated. Yeah.
very agitated, and I also, on the day of the conjunction, I made a new friend. I got reconnected with old friends.
Wow.
Had some things go on with siblings.
That had placements at that
Oh.
14-degree
Yeah,
Gemini,
Yes,
right?
right,
Robin?
yes, and the people that I
Oh.
connected with and through all this all had placements at these degrees,
Wow.
like very close to these degrees. They had
Okay.
planets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Robin, if you look, so Pluto is retrograde in Aquarius, right? It's actually squaring that Venus in this chart. And I read that a retrograde can make another planet retrograde. It can have that feel of a retrograde. So like old friends coming back in, even different incarnation friends coming into this lifetime. So re-meeting of like-minded people, connections, a variety of people, Gemini being that variety and diversity. So that kind of coming into your life, it was probably reflected from those transits as well.
And the
Yeah.
fact that it's on the south node, bringing back
Yes.
old people in.
More people in,
Yes.
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
That's
that-
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
But a
It's
lot of
that
souls
new-
are waking up now. It's as though people are starting to go into their tribes and they're reconnecting from past lives and all of that thing as it's needed now to reunite.
Well,
Yeah.
that's interesting you say that, because for me, that conjunction actually squares my skip step, which is Neptune in the third house of Sagittarius. And for me, and it's very much been about the voice, opening up, not hiding. I have a very strong 12th house, and it's following my truth and connecting with like-minded individuals. And that Pluto transit for me is very much about the Aquarius community, like-minded community. I live in London and I'm not connected to that many astrologers, let's say, especially people that do EA, knowledge of EA. And it's
Right.
me opening myself up and going with that trust. And this is the first time I'm here. I've tried previously, it's just not mapped out. I even messaged Sue the other week. I had my schedule completely mixed up. That's my Neptune confusing me, my 12th house. And I managed to come here today, and I kept thinking, should I do this? Should I not? I'm perfectly happy hiding in my own little space. But
Yeah.
it's
You know
like
what? I
stepping
have
in-
that. I'm
It's
having
time
the
to
exact
out
same
now.
experience as well. And I have all of that Gemini also. It's on my south node, but it squares my Virgo that is skip steps. So
Yeah.
I'm
and
happy.
and it's for like anybody listening today as well, it's looking at these transits and applying it to your birth chart to
Yes.
pick up where the story's playing out and what message is coming through. And Gemini will always bring a message. It's communication, information, and it's whether we're willing to listen as well. As much as the information coming, are we
Right.
open to listening? Or are we going to go back to old patterns? And that's your South Node in Libra, right? Are we getting the balance right? Are we receiving and giving? And that notion comes into play.
Sure. Yeah. So it's about stepping out onto the stage, isn't it? As you say, from the background, it's now
Yes.
time to step out there.
Yeah. And
Um,
Jupiter Mercury, it's a new phase in this Sun Venus conjunction. So
Mhm.
new ideas, new beliefs, and
Yes.
new ways of doing things.
communicating,
Exactly.
Yeah.
disseminating information, and realizing, again, like we were just saying, that information is not all it's cracked out to be. I mean, we've been knowing that for some time, but now we're just learning how deep that goes. How
Mm.
deep
How
is the
tricky it is.
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
How
Well,
not
and-
straightforward it is.
Exactly. And to that
You know-
end, Rav and I are talking about doing a new series of interviews with astrologers.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. So
Yes.
Anybody that wants to be interviewed, we're starting it up We're gonna start it off by interviewing each other. And then
First, yeah.
That's great. That's
our
great.
first one,
Oh,
and then we'll,
that's good.
and then we'll go from there.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Building the community.
Yes, community.
Yeah. Yeah. So people can, get to know us and get to know each other and
Yeah.
learn a little
And
bit
work
more about.
together and work together, you know,
Work together.
be together, live together, share things.
It's
Great
so
to see
Pluto in
that.
Aquarius. The tribe, the
Also-
tribe.
And to
It's
promote
necessary
together.
for the future not to be dystopic.
Yeah.
Simple
And
as that.
also because there is so much disinformation about astrology, it needs
Yes.
really upholding and pushing, the legitimate side of it as much as possible, because it's
I agree.
needed so much now, and it's going to be needed even more. I mean, as we go into this and we go towards Aquarius over the next decades, or I think it's a couple of 100 years, but people have different opinions about that. But we are in the transition phase, so
Yeah.
astrology is going to get more and more popular, but also more imperative, and the truth of it is so vital. And that's going to get upheld. I mean, it's it's time, and it will be upheld. But then anyone who can do that, we all have the responsibility. So fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Be great. So the Venus conjunction, I mean, it's a big one. I mean, it also made me think, about conspiracy theories. Of course, that the Twin Towers. It made me think about the Twin Towers, because it sort of came up. I forget how it came up for me, that it came into my consciousness, and then I thought, oh, of course, those were the degrees of Saturn and Pluto, weren't they? Right across
Yes.
ascendant, descendant.
Yes.
And
Twin.
Gemini, Twin Towers, it couldn't be more literal. But now it's
It
as though
was.
now it's saying, if you compare this chart back to that chart, I did a little bit, but I couldn't get as much done as I wanted. But it's like saying, okay, really do look at the truth of it, that there is a lot more than people assumed, and maybe not as outlandish about, yes, sure, there really were planes, and let's not take it too far, but there was a lot behind the scenes that we did not realize, that was a setup.
A lot of ulterior motives.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. And it was
And that
set
we
up.
still don't understand.
Yes.
We have to remember that we're still dumb. We're still ignorant.
No.
Never exempt ourselves from that boat in a sense,
No.
Like,
But I mean,
I'm a pacifist.
period, and say,
and
okay, don't. Yeah.
I'm an extreme radical left social anarchist and a pacifist, never served in the Israeli army.
Yeah.
Yet I've worked through my life as a political advisor in the fields of terror and politics with many Mossad and, Shabak officers. And what I often found, is that when I came into a situation criticizing something that's been done, because I had only partial information, when more information was revealed, in a sense, the logic of the modus operandi was indeed revealed,
Yeah.
So, and it's layers upon layers upon layers of interests, conflicting interests, joining interests, changing interests. It's all about power.
Yes, absolutely. Everything,
Yes.
all of it. And there are no good guys as far as government's concerned. There are no good guys. Just some better than others, but
Yes,
all
at times, it's dynamic. I mean, look
Maybe.
at ourselves. Are we good guys all the time?
Right.
we try.
Can we say that fully? I can't.
No, everyone has to look at their shadow now. It's like all the Jungian teachings are really coming into their own now, of course, Jungian astrology. And it really is about looking at your shadow as well. And each individual and nation, the collective shadow. It really
Amen
has
to that.
Yeah. Well, we're seeing the collective shadow, that's for sure. But we also, as you just said, we need to be aware of our individual one, because that's where our power lies, as well as saying, okay,
Sure.
we're not as good as we thought. We're not even as good as we think we are. I mean, on our unconscious knows a lot more than we do. So it can be devastating when you realize that, when you look back at events and you see, oh my God, what was I doing? And you realize lots of things can affect the mind, like trauma. And, trauma is a major playing card for the patriarchy as well. They use trauma to control people, which is why we get these events as well, these world crises and catastrophes, because they control people that way. And they then make their mind controlled by fear, and that makes them able to be hypnotized, basically. Hypnosis, the hypnagogic
Mass
state.
hypnosis, yeah.
Yeah, it is mass hypnosis. And it's a very real thing. The Romans did it. They were, masters at it. And ever since it's been done. But now, of course, with the internet and everything else, it's like it's on a bigger scale than ever. And the stakes are higher than ever. And all that
Romans did it. Mamluks did it. Mongols did it. Even the Germans and America do it. Let's do it.
So
Aye.
that we're all aware of this, because we need to be aware, and we need to be aware of our own shadow, as you just said, and realizing, oh my God, I really need to be aware of this, and also forgive yourself for not being perfect.
Well, yeah, exactly. And I think, in the big picture of evolution, I think we have to experience all sides of an issue in order to understand it, in order to evolve, beyond it or above it or through it, or, however, whatever it is that we do, I think we have to know it, I think we have to understand it all. But it's very disconcerting to think, to find out about all of this stuff under the surface.
It really is. It's like, what next?
Yeah.
Well, Pluto in Aquarius brings the things from under the surface and shoots them up to the sky, It's in the atmosphere.
Yeah.
It's blown out. Jet streams out.
Yeah. And Saturn, of course, is going to close in on the square to Neptune, not square, the conjunction, for God's sakes, to Neptune.
Right.
And of course, that's what truth is going to come out then. It's, my God, the illusion is really going to be shattered at that point, I think. And then it goes into Aries, of course, but then it much depends on how it's taken, how the truth is taken when it's shattered at that point, what will happen when Saturn conjoins Neptune in Aries.
Right. Yeah. The interesting thing is that they get very close in Pisces, but they never conjoin until they both, get into Aries. They're,
Yes.
I think that as earth shattering as this square would be, like from my experience, people who are delusional, when they're faced by the truth and by facts, they don't let it disturb their theory. They just get more radical. They find rationalizations why this is presented this way, how this is.
That's what's happening now, isn't it?
People are very good at rationalizing what they need to believe.
Yeah. It's
we
for
don't
security.
Like exactly.
It's for self-security. It's to feel secure, right? Nobody wants to be in that state of insecurity, because that is change. It's something different, something they're not used to, familiar with, and it's easier to just lie to yourself.
Yes. Well, your whole foundation can be changed. I mean, I'm from my point of view, and I'm sure a lot of other people looking back at our European and American history, it's like our foundations have just shattered, really. I mean, they've just gone. We just realized that we were not what we thought we were. That really, it's just the power game, and that. And the people have been lied to. That's the awful thing, that people have just been used as pawns. And, like they are now in wars, they're being used as pawns. And it's about time that was changed, but it's not. It's as bad as it was in World War One. It's as bad as it was in World War Two.
Yeah.
It's as bad as in all those other wars. I mean, what the hell's going on here? So we realize all of this rubbish about remembrance and everything, and how everything's changed, and how never again anything, any wars or anything, that's rubbish.
And then here we are.
Yeah, here we are. And so our foundations have collapsed, basically. But then it's up to us to, that's why spirituality is so important, and a spiritual framework like astrology gives you, particularly EA, that gives you the framework to work with, that actually is your foundation. If that's your foundation, then you don't feel like you've got nothing to stand on. You feel that because you've built that all, I mean, God, for how many years most of us have built that already. And so that's our foundation. And it doesn't lie in the histories and mostly concocted lies of our countries. So, and so that's why it's important. It's so important to encourage that. And it is, people are reaching for it. They're reaching for anything that gives them another foundation, but not the false spirituality, like, you know, just again, the propaganda that is just another mind control mechanism. And that's the wonderful thing about astrology. It doesn't control you. You can use it delusionally, of course, but it's not a control mechanism. It can be abused, and that's why it's so important to, you know, hang on to the truth of it and always question, well, what truth is it showing us? And that's, again, that's the Gemini message, isn't it? Say, okay, Mercury, the Mercury message. What is the truth here? The psychopomp, going down to hell if necessary, and excavating the truth, which is what it's all about.
Yeah, so you can be told one thing, but being able to discern, I will do my own research. Does this feel right? And what does this mean on a collective level? Not just on an individual self-interest, you know, like we said earlier, corporations, governments having their own power, and us being able to, like, you know, humanity being able to separate that and look at the higher good, where this energy is trying to navigate us towards, rather than the traditional stereotypical fear-based control, which it has been emphasized to be in the past.
The feminine
turn into love-based.
Yeah, which is Venus, which is the feminine, which is the great mother, you know, Sophia in Hermetics and Gnostic. But then, of course, we've got Saturn in Pisces, which is all about, you know, in the square, the new moon square. It's about the intuition and spirituality, true spirituality being degraded, being suppressed even. Probably, and not probably, from childhood, in fact. Whereas a child, was your intuition, if you were an intuitive child, or, you know, as most of us were, because we wouldn't be in this if we weren't, where was it degraded? Oh, don't listen to your intuition. That's rubbish. That's crazy. And so we were, and that's the Saturn square, isn't it? That's the first square of Saturn, say 7 years old. And so we're seeing that now when you look at Saturn in Pisces. Okay, where has your intuition been suppressed, squashed? Now you have to bring it up again. You have to take it seriously, Saturn, and you have to start, as you just said, listen to it.
Being the master of your destiny, self-mastery is Saturn. Self-responsibility, self-mastery. And look at your own spiritual journey. And if you have to go back to even childhood, if you look at the sun, you know, linking to, you know, creativity of a child, to self-actualization, and that square is, maybe go back to that wonder, you know, curiosity, Gemini, and then, you know, go back to that, and that doors can then open up. It's a new moon, new beginnings, new perspectives, new ideas, opening that up. So I felt this new moon was kind of pushing towards that for the next couple of weeks. Yeah.
Especially exactly conjunct Venus. Pulling in that Venus Sun conjunction and the square to Saturn, and, you know, I mean, it just kind of speaks to the reality of, you know, what's been going on is, you know, pretty stark, but yet hopeful, I think.
Mm.
And,
Yeah.
but a
I
lot of
agree.
work to do.
Mm.
Lots of work. But it is not just taking the propaganda, not just being spoon-fed what the authorities, what the patriarchy, what the corporations, what they all have been spoon-feeding us. Not now we question Gemini, but we also use our intuition and test it out and listen to, you know, the great network that is the universal mind that we're connected
Mm.
to, and that we have just learned to listen to it synchronistically. As Jung said, we listen, we observe the synchronicities, we listen now. And so it starts telling us, oh no, that's our guidepost. If it doesn't feel right, it's not right. And now we question. So we've got that thing between Pisces and Gemini, Saturn in Pisces, Newman in Gemini, and all of this in Gemini, which is wonderful. It's like it's going back and forth between the intuition, the spirit, the universal mind, and our minds, which are connected. And it's building those synapses again. It's like it's rebuilding the connections.
Yeah.
Which is wonderful. And
I,
that's the
yeah. I actually mentioned, I was talking about the new moon, and I actually had mentioned in one of my posts that it's a this highlights sitting down with a pen in your hand in writing, not your phone typing, pen in your hand. So you're actually connecting your mind with the kind of the body, the somatic experience, and then just free flowing, that automatic writing in a way. And just feelings will come through, emotions, ideas, it just write, just whatever comes. And then pay attention to what's come over the next couple of weeks. And there's that new information coming through, and you're trusting your intuition. It could be anything like, you know, try a new cooking class, you know, anything, but leading you somewhere. So that experience of trusting your intuition and see what opens up is a great way to kind of decipher the energy.
That's a really good, yeah, that's a point. I mean, for years now, I've used journals and written. And so I've used handwriting, and it's amazing. I can see the progression where my intuition has tuned in more and more. And it's always, it's like, as you say, it becomes automatic writing. It starts, you can't write fast enough in the end, because it's like, whoa, I just got some
Then it's like, what have I written? You look at it and you're like, what did I write there?
Where did that come from? So it's remarkable. That's a really good point you're making. That's exactly something to do. It's essential, in fact, because now we will start getting this. It's rolling, and it's going to get more and more intense, and we need to tune with it. And that's a very good way to do it.
Interestingly, I've had to go to voice to text because I've had shoulder issues with all this Gemini stuff going on. But I started using voice to text a few months ago, and I found that very helpful. Because
it's still communicating. It's still
communicating. And it's funny that sometimes it doesn't pick up exactly what I say, and I realize that, you know, it picks up background stuff. It picks up, you know, that I'm kind of mumbling. It picks up. I had it one time. My phone rang, and I picked it up, and I kind of hemmed and hawed because my friend asked me if I was busy, and I hemmed and hawed, and it picked up all of that stuff.
But that's a great exercise, isn't it? It just shows you how that can become garbled, and how we really need to hone in on the throat, the chakra, so as we can communicate effectively.
Yes, very good point. Yes, very true. Yes.
Yeah, so that's a good thing to do as well. I'll try that. I've been thinking of doing that for a while, but I like the writing so much.
I do too. I do too, and I have been, I mean, I was always a profuse note taker in school. I mean, I would write everything that the teachers said, and, you know, recorded everything. In fact, I past lives as a scribe, many past lives as a scribe, you know, getting every last word down. And so now I'm, you know, I guess physically, I don't want to use the word suffering, but I'm, you know, the consequences are there. And so I have to find other ways of, pursuing that, more information, more and more and
also-
more.
So it is, if you can start to do that, to dictate with your voice and have the computer to process it. I mean, that's a quicker way of doing it. So it is another way that we
Right.
should be using, because the information is getting so fast.
Yeah. Yeah, I
And we
guess,
miss it. I mean, we can't get it all down. So
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that has been my problem, is I can't get it all down.
Yeah.
I can't keep up.
And AI can be immensely helpful with that. It's I mean, that is the amazing thing too with Gemini that seems to be coming up here, and Saturn in Pisces, that AI is becoming so intuitive. Obviously, it's picking up everything we say, everything you write, everything we do, and you can see
Yes.
it. You can
Well,
see it translated.
Yes, and it's picking up all the crap too.
Yes.
That's the problem. I mean, that's the problem I have with it, is that it's regurgitating all the
Yes.
crap that's out there, that,
And that's why, that's why it's so important that we become aware of what we're actually putting in, because
Mhm.
what we put in, we will get out.
Exactly.
We're not
Yep.
putting any crap in, you're going to get crap back.
Yep, the
And
old
so-
computer, garbage in, garbage out.
So in fact, around this time, I've started to be careful. I've started to think, I'm not even going to press on that. I'm not going to, I'm not going to even give that the time of day. I might be curious, which of course, Gemini, Mars, I'm curious about everything. But we have to discipline ourselves and discern, as you said, we have to be disciplined.
Being more selective.
Yeah.
I encourage that I know full well from that title what that's going to be, and that is rubbish. I am only going to go for something that has, the echoes of truth, and that has a responsibility about it. And we really need to be disciplined with ourselves and do that now, because it is getting so fast and so intuitive, but it is giving us so much back as well. So when we do input with thought and meaningfulness and heart, the Venus in the feminine intuition, we get it back again, and we get it back. Oh my God, I didn't think of that. It's like, whoa, where did that come from? But it's picked it up, and then it said, okay, try this, or make an observance about it, that it just hits you like, my God, that's incredible. And then it puts you, it's like synchronicity on steroids. It's yeah.
Well,
So
Virgo, I mean, Mercury also rules Virgo. So, the discernment factor is, I think is really important part of this.
absolutely,
I
absolutely.
agree.
The criticism
Yeah.
and the tension and hyper stress, the anxiety of not completing things as they should be all the time, everything all the time,
Yes. Yeah.
the logistics connected to it.
Yes, which is another reason to be discerning, because otherwise you're just bombarded, you're overwhelmed with everything, overwhelmed with information, overwhelmed. So the intuition, the discernment, the Virgo discernment, as you just said, and the Gemini curiosity has to be curbed. It has to be honed into. Let's have some Virgo discernment in there.
Easy for you to say.
It needs to be lassoed and and
Curb that curiosity. What?
I know it's easier said than done, but but also the Pisces, then all the mutables, use the Pisces discernment, the Sagittarius, expand the viewpoint, expand the perspective. Okay, don't keep with the Gemini smaller perspective. Let's enlarge it all the time. Let's take it out to Sagittarius. So you've got the mutables now, especially with Neptune in Pisces, and now we've got Saturn in Pisces, as we said, and now we've got all this Gemini stuff. And Jupiter is the ruler of Sagittarius, but it's all coming in to say, okay, this can be too much, but then you start discerning, and you're just given what you need. Then the universal mind will just give you what you need at the time that you need it, and that's where it becomes magic. And
it dissolves what's not needed. That Neptune.
It just, yeah, okay. And more and
The-
more, the more you're tuned into that, the more you
The
do.
hermetical transference,
Yeah,
turning
exactly.
lead into gold in a sense.
That's it.
Yeah,
Exactly.
very true.
Exactly.
So I don't know what we have next. Shall we move on?
Yeah,
See
press
what we
on.
got? Oh, well, speaking of
All
Mercury,
right, Mercury, yeah.
we have, but wait, there's more.
More.
Bless Hermes, bless Hermes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So tomorrow we have the Mercury Cazimi.
Yes. Yes.
And, Mercury in the heart of the sun. As it's approaching, it can be a bit overwhelming when it's exactly conjunct. The theory is that it's very exact and pinpoint energy. So when this tomorrow morning for us, tomorrow evening for you,
Evening.
Rav, or late
Yeah.
afternoon.
Late afternoon,
I my intention is to sit down and do some writing. So
Mm.
Yes. A very good thing. I could just say
Yeah.
it's a great time
It's
to
a
do that.
great time. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a very auspicious time to think ahead and visualize and do your ceremonies and plan ahead and see how you want to see yourself in 3 months
Mhm.
yeah.
and where you want to go and what you want to complete through this
Yeah.
monthly couple of months period.
Yeah. Well, also through to the 9 months again to that lunar eclipse in March 14th, which is 9 months from tomorrow, in fact, the 14th
Yeah.
of June, the first quarter moon. And then the thing is 9 months after that, you get a full moon. And of course, it's a lunar eclipse on the 14th of March. So, and that's at 24 Virgo. So that's exactly, of course, that's going to be exactly square. So what happens tomorrow is sort of setting the stage for a 9 month period. What's going to be born out of that 9 months period?
A lot of ideas.
Yeah.
It's on my natal moon.
Is it really? Well, that'll be interesting. So yeah, write your intentions. Good time to do that. You know,
Yeah.
put down your intentions and yeah, get positive intentions out of it.
so are we
Amen to
4 out of
that.
5 Gemini moons here?
Yeah, we talked about it already.
Who doesn't have a Gemini moon?
Rav, she has a
This is
Capricorn moon.
I see.
truly, you know, talking about interests behind interests. This is truly a Gemini moon support group. It's open to other moons as well, you know, but
Hi.
Well, you have a lot of Mercury, right? So
You're Capricorn, right?
I'm
Yeah.
Capricorn moon, but I have a
We
lot
need
of Virgo
Capricorn.
planets. So
Have
hence
you?
the ruler being Mercury. Yeah, a lot.
yes.
Excellent to
And
have a Earth. Yeah, Earth. Yeah.
yeah,
practically all my chart is in my 6th house. So
Really.
mine's
yeah.
a 12th. We're
Is it?
opposites.
Yeah,
Mine's
yeah.
a jam-packed 12th house.
My
Goodness.
moon's in my 6th and my south node.
Yes. Yeah. Right. Wonderful.
I'm noticing a lot of astrologers have a lot of Mercury.
Yes. I mean, they would do, wouldn't they? I mean, it's all about Mercury. It's making
We
this
are the
connection.
messengers of the gods.
Well, yeah,
Right.
traditionally Mercury does rule astrology.
Like the
Yes.
down to hell.
Yeah. Now we've moved on to Uranus being being
Yeah.
the
Well, it's
ruler
a
of
higher
astrology.
octave of Mercury, right? So
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Good
we
point.
moved into the future.
Yes. Yeah. It's wild.
So
But,
do you have anything else about?
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
saying that.
Sue. So for
Uranus-
this Mercury Cazimi, if you look
Yeah.
at the moon at 29 degrees Virgo, which then, you know, the ruler of that is that Mercury in at 24 degrees Gemini. So
Yeah.
for me, I'm looking at that as a closing of an emotional cycle as well tomorrow.
Neptune. Yes, of course.
Yeah, it's opposite Neptune, yes.
Cool.
So
Oh my God.
perfect.
Very true.
That whole like ritual that you spoke about, you know, that spiritual connection to your divine essence. It's a great day tomorrow just to sit down and do those rituals, writing, intentions. So it's perfect.
And meditate and exactly about your intentions. Well, meditate and connect.
Throw in a vision board.
Definitely. And I was going to say to Uranus at 20, well, it's almost 25 Taurus. So that's picking up that degree of the lunar eclipse in March too. So what Uranian is going to be born out of that? It's like there's a whole conception here of something that's going to happen in spring next year.
Iceberg. Again.
Well, we've got to think positively here.
An iceberg is a beautiful thing.
They are beautiful.
As long as you see it, it is.
Yeah, off the distance.
Not shrouded in a mist.
As long as you don't crash into it, it's beautiful from a distance.
But if you know it's there.
If you know it's there. Exactly. And that's the whole point. And this, you've got a good point there. It shows there is an iceberg, but if you're aware of it, then you can
maneuver.
Avoid it. And make the most of the miasma. Titanic was interesting because that they called it a miasma, which was a shroud of mist that actually did cover the iceberg. And so that is one reason they didn't see it. And it was like, it was caused by refraction of the light on the ocean and a particular heat that happened, because it was like in a point of the sea where it was hot and cold combined. It was very Neptunian. And that produced this refraction of the light, but also this mist, this miasma that actually shrouded the iceberg so that the Titanic couldn't see it until it was too late.
Wow. That's such a strong analogy.
Isn't
because it? I think the ship of mankind would never be sunk.
Yes.
No, not. So that's a great analogy.
Itself was, it is like composite of the hierarchy of mankind. It had the upper classes, the privileged elite on the top decks, and then you had the middle, and then you had the people were kept in the lower decks. And so it was like a whole composite of society. So it was very symbolic, especially 1912, which was the lead up to the First World War, which was really the real kickoff for this period. And so you had the warning, the prophetic warning that society was not going to see what was ahead. It was shrouded in mist. And if it did not tune into Neptune, as you said, and in fact, Neptune was in Cancer then? I forgot. Was it Aries? There was an eclipse in Aries, solar eclipse, and it was actually, yes, I think it was squaring Neptune. I'd have to look it up, but I know it was making a very tight aspect to Neptune. And so it was very Neptunian and happened almost on the eclipse, which was the 17th. And it happened late on like midnight on the 15th, 16th. So it was very, very close to the eclipse. And so you combined all of that. And then, of course, back then that was a Aries solar eclipse like we've just had. That was April 17th. So it was on the same metonic cycle as the one we just not quite. I think the year before, wasn't it? We got the 4th of April. When was it? 4th of April, wasn't it? Or was it the 14th? Oh, I forgot. 8th of April.
Right. Yes. The 8th of April. Yeah. And
it wasn't
it was
the same
on 19 degrees is
yes.
what you're thinking.
So there are some connections there to the Titanic. Here we are with possible world war brewing. And it's like we're getting to, that's why if the Titanic gets mentioned, if the Twin Towers gets mentioned, if the COVID thing gets mentioned, it's all saying these. And in fact, the Titanic was partly a man-made disaster as well, because the corporation that owned it refused to cancel the maiden voyage. They knew there was a fire in one of the boiler rooms, and it's happened a week before on the lunar eclipse. they refused to cancel Maiden Voyage because of all the money and all the hype and everything else. So they let it go with a fire actually in one of the boilers. And that fire was never put out. And it actually, there was a really good documentary on it, weakened the ratchets. So possibly that weakening of the ratchets that was caused by the fire was a thing, it was the final straw for the Titanic. It might have even held if it had not been for that fire, that the corporation, because of money. So there you go. It's like yeah, the rich elite. Yes. So you go into this and you find, my God. And actually there was a very good documentary. I think that's when that documentary was, 2012, century of, you know, the anniversary of the sinking. And the violin was being auctioned, the violin case that was found on the bottom of the ocean that belonged to the violin player of the Titanic, one of those who, you know, was in the band that played it down. And so it all started, and then 2012 was a very big year, about when the shift began. And that was when the processional sun exited from the dark rift in the galactic center. So the shift actually began that year, and it's as though Titanic was a major symbol of, this is what humanity has been doing for all these thousands of years, and it's now coming to an end, but we're going to get this sunset that is going to show us where we've got the shadow of the collective. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't know how that came on, but yes, it's like it's a miasma. And this says, be aware of the miasma this time. Be aware of the iceberg. Be aware that it might be shrouded, but just know intuitively this time that it is there. You're being told we are being told. And so we have to listen to our intuition.
I'm really fearful that in retrospective, we're going to look at what happened in October 7th, like we do today on the murder of the Archduke that sprung World War I.
Ferdinand, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yes, I mean, yeah, that is a good point. It definitely was a kickoff point, wasn't it? I mean, yes, it's not going to go away in one respect. I mean, yes, the war might.
No,
and that,
it's just spinning more into action. And
well, yeah, it could ignite the
you
whole.
know, Germany just called for a general draft. It's preparing its armies to fight with Putin.
Yeah.
You know, the pawns are being set on the stage, and event, you know, everything is flowing into the event horizon that we seem to be unable to free ourselves from the grasp of. Now, of course, as lovers, love believes in the impossible. It believes it can be done. It believes that if we, you know, come together and work hard enough, we can overcome these challenges that humanity is facing during the next decades.
That's it. The feminine intuition, the feminine principle, the great mother is rising, the lunar consciousness that is going to supersede the solar consciousness. Because, I mean, at least the negative solar consciousness that's been in operation for the last 6,000 years, it has been the negative solar consciousness. Even though we've got a lot of good out of it, it is basically negative. It's the terrible father. So now the great mother consciousness.
Wow, I didn't know that's how it's named. It's very apt.
It's on the great wheel, you know, the ancient Hermetic Egyptian great wheel of the zodiac that they based on precession, which should always have been taught along with the annual wheel. It was separated. Who was it separated by? By the Romans. They separated wheels.
The Greeks and the Romans created such havoc, you know, and helped patriarchy rise, you know,
of course.
Stripped women of their power and position, excluded LGBT people that were priests and medicine men up to that point, very much like in native societies. Yeah, a lot of shit happened.
As Michaela froze.
Looks like it.
It looks like it.
We all froze for a second.
Well, yeah, that was a freezing thought.
Yeah.
Yes, it
Oh,
was.
I
It
mean,
was the terrible father's gaze upon us.
yeah. Wow. Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
we lost Michaela.
Yeah, she lost her
What-
signal.
So hopefully she'll be back. But yeah, what I'm noticing just in the setup of this chart is kind of interesting with the moon Neptune opposition
Mm.
and then Saturn in Pisces square the Sun, Venus, and Mercury in Gemini kind of reinforces everything that we've just been talking about.
Mhm.
The
Yeah. I don't know about you guys, but even today, I felt like I've since like Mercury was retrograde.
yeah,
That's what the feeling's been like over the last few days, even with technology at work. I'm using the computers and they're freezing, taking an extra 2 or 3 minutes just to function.
Right.
And I just kept thinking, is Mercury going, or like, what's going on with Mercury? Or,
It's very similar to a Mercury retrograde. It's an
Sure.
overload of
Yes.
Mercury energy.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it's
It's
I mean,
not only that, it's always like that when it squares Neptune and even Uranus.
yeah.
Yes.
Well, and
Yes,
it's also
Uranus, yeah.
going into the heart of the sun. I mean, it's being
Mm.
burned up by the
The
sun
solar
Right.
in
flares.
traditional terms. I mean, it burns off the dross, but
Yeah.
but it has to go through it to get to the other side. And I hear you. I was thinking yesterday, was it yesterday? A couple days ago, I was thinking when I was driving, I was thinking, boy, this just really feels like a Mercury retrograde, but it's
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
Everything's doing freezing up on my side, you know? It's like, what's wrong with the internet?
Yeah, yeah.
The phone's been freezing up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. We've had issues here, but not recently. There's Michaela coming back. Oh, good. Yeah, the phones and internet and everything. But I agree with you, Robin. It's this overload of Mercury. It's like too much to go through the pipes, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
My battery went.
Oh, okay.
Hypertension.
Yes,
And
the patriarch.
stress,
Yeah, I
like-
think.
Well,
Yeah.
The
Mercury is
electronics
a
are
very
stressed.
electrical. It's a very electrical energy.
I think
Yes.
they sabotaged me. They are.
Well, and the way you froze was very interesting too. Your
Really?
hands
Yeah.
were up in your
Yeah.
talking about the
Yes. That was interesting. Oh God. No, I forgot to plug it in. That's why.
oh, whoops.
Whoops. Mercury got me.
Mercury,
Anyway,
the trickster, huh? Mercury the trickster.
can't trust it.
Always, if it's not one thing, it's another.
Exactly.
As Rosanna Dana used to say.
Anyway, so it's all cooking, isn't it? Oh God.
It is.
It's
Yeah.
all cooking. But we have like, if we do look at the asteroids, we have 3 grand
Yeah.
trines going on. One is can you hear me well?
Yeah.
Yes.
One is an earth trine, one is a water trine. And I think there's one more. There's like,
What's the name?
there's
Air.
There's
Pallas Athena, and I don't know what's next to it. Trining,
Lilith.
yeah,
So that's Lilith
no,
next to it, not
yeah.
trining Vesta, and then
Yeah.
trining Neptune, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Well, there's
So
an air trine also.
that's a water grand trine, right? And
Yeah.
and then we
Yes.
have if we take the nodes in, we have an air grand trine as well, and there's another grand trine happening, I think,
And then
with the Earth, yeah, with Ceres and
Oh,
Juno.
wow.
Red fire.
Yeah.
and
Uranus.
Uranus, yeah.
And then what was
So
the earth? I mean, what was the air? Was
The South Node, Jupiter,
South Node.
and Pluto.
And Eris, yeah,
Well, yeah,
Jupiter?
and Hygeia there, isn't it?
yeah.
Hygeia?
Could add those things in.
Yeah.
So like we're getting a lot of help. You know, it's not we're not standing here on our own.
No,
in
no.
a
Mm.
sense.
Yes, that's true. And I have noticed that the goddesses are like
Mm.
adding
Lining
more.
in.
Yeah, they're adding more details to these stories.
Yes,
The whole
exactly.
And Valid
story.
Athena was a lot about wake-up calls. I mean,
Mm.
wake up, Greeks, Athenians, you know, let's rise from being these farmers and into military men and the world's
Oh.
greatest empire. She led them and she taught them to hunt and fight and strategize.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Well, yeah, and she's all about, recognizing patterns.
Yes, really. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, as you say, there is a lot of help, and it's all meant to be. It's like this is all of it is meant to be, and we couldn't really expect it to be an easy ride when it's after so many thousands of years of of this dominating principle. So the collapse of it isn't going to be easy, but on the other hand, as you say, there is so much support, and we need to trust that, because it's amazing, really. And as you said, the Venusian principle is becoming more powerful. It is balancing, it's rebalancing, even though we can see all this, it doesn't seem like it, and we're getting all this negativity. It's necessary because we wouldn't recognize it otherwise. We have to see the shadow. I mean, the shadow is nothing to sneeze at, is it?
Well,
It's-
yeah.
No, and birth
We-
isn't easy.
Yeah,
Birth
but
is a
we have
painful
to
process.
remember we all chose to come here at this
Yeah.
time and go through this thickness together.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, we
Exactly.
can't
Yeah.
forget that. But there's a book I love in Hebrew. It's called Climbing on Trees for Pedestrians. And in its inner lining, there's a sentence that says something like that. Even Samson, and the biblical hero, Samson,
Mhm.
gave himself the permission. And the nights that he completed his greatest triumph, to stop a minute and howl at the moon.
Mhm.
And since I understood his character that way, I understand that everything is just hard work and longing, for
Mhm.
the fraternity of humanity. in a
Yes.
sense,
Yes, exactly.
of
Exactly.
mankind.
Yeah. And it's already there in a sense. It's just that now we're seeing one type of reality, as you said, but it's all, what did you say? It's like it's an illusion, really. So, yes,
Miasma. It's a miasma.
it's an illusion, but so we really do have to pick our reality. We have to have faith in our reality. We have to have faith that, and it's a foregone conclusion. Venus is rising, the moon is rising, the feminine is rebalancing. And that's the mission. Nothing is going to stop that. And it is the empowering principle that it can't lose. It's impossible. So it's already in the bag. It's just us having the faith, although it hasn't happened yet, and we have to go
It's
through the process.
encouraging.
Yes. And as the more we have faith and pick up the signals and the signs and draw from that, the more we'll be inspired by it, and miracles will happen. We could even perhaps be on the verge. We could even stop things happening that would happen otherwise, but it's no, it's not going to. We can pull it back from that now. We can change. So, but it's important that we know the worst that can happen and really sense it, because the world needs to see that shadow. But we can also pull it back from it.
But you're talking about us, in a sense.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that everybody
Oh, no.
senses it and everybody realizes that
No.
yet. you
They
know?
may sense it, but you're right. They don't realize it. I think it's all in the, in the background for everybody, that there's
Yeah.
something going
It's the
on.
subtext. Yeah.
Mhm.
It's still plutonic. It's still
Mhm.
hidden.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sure.
I have this delusion that, if the world does come to shit, if this funnel we're all spinning in does go to a, center point at the end, extraterrestrials will come in and say, children, that's enough. Let's just stop it here.
Now.
We're here, and now that we're here, I think that changes your viewpoint. It doesn't. So come together, now you're, a planet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
And finally things would come
Yeah.
to their senses,
well,
Yes.
and then there's the meme about the extraterrestrials that, drive by our planet and roll up the windows. Keep going.
I hope
Well,
they don't try cleaning
let's
my
skip.
windshield.
They're like, skip planet Earth next.
Yeah, right. Yeah, let's.
I remember when that was so beautiful.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
We'll let them figure
Those
it
were
out.
the days.
Well,
I think we've, it's cyclic, and we've risen and fallen as humanity has risen and fallen and started over probably multiple times.
Of course. Of course.
yeah.
And we will rise further this time too. When we rise, we will rise further. And that's already begun. That's the thing we need to know. Our rising has already begun, even though it's hard to see it. We might not be able to see it. It's like the iceberg, the good berg that's shrouded by the miasma. We can't see that, but it's there. And so we need to realize it's already there. We will rise further than ever. But this adjustment, this reset has to happen. And that's all it really is. It's a reset. But it just seems huge to us because we see everything going to shit. It's like a
Michaela,
shit.
I need 20-minute talks from you, I guess, daily, like every morning I need to hear 20 minutes of you, I guess. Yeah, at least.
Reassuring myself. But anyway. But no, it's true. We do.
Fake it till you make it. Fake it till you make it.
Well, yeah, but it's not yeah, but that's the thing. We do have to discern about delusion. We can't delude ourselves. But that's the point. It's not like the spiritual bypassing. That's a whole other matter. And that does not help at all to say everything is wonderful and you just imagine that it's wonderful. It's not that. Because you can't, you have to see the shadow. And that's where the woke thing is going wrong, because they're saying, bypass that, imagine a wonderful world, it simply will be. But the shadow is a necessary thing. It's part of our, as Jung said, that's why the teachings of Jung and Jeff Wolf Green need to come up to consciousness, because it's about recognizing the shadow. The shadow and evil is a necessary we wouldn't survive in the material world without it. And it holds our creativity, as well as not just everything ghastly and bad and negative, but it also holds our creative impulse. Once we own it and not separate it, we're no longer dual. Then we're not that Gemini dual aspect again. We're whole, and we recognize, as we have to live in the material world, as as a whole being that once we recognize the shadow in ourselves, we have compassion for it in others. Then we don't judge. It's the Christ consciousness.
He's cracking me up, Michaela. He wants to be in this discussion.
Yeah, she's such
she's a female orange cat. Oh,
yes, she's a lady marmalade, as I said.
I missed that. I mean, I heard it, but
Michaela,
yes.
yeah. Michaela, you just spoke about the duality, and I know it's not on this chart, but I always look at the asteroid Lucifer because it's the
Oh,
bearer
wow.
of light.
I was just wondering
And
where it was.
it's actually at 7 degrees of Taurus. So
Okay.
it's conjuncting that Mars in Taurus.
Ah, of
So
course.
yeah,
Fun,
and
fun.
And
I
Mars will,
think
It's effective.
wow.
yes. So
Okay.
it's in that
Good. Yeah.
I think it's in
Yes.
the balsamic phase. I think Lucifer is a slower moving asteroid to Mars. Yes.
Wow.
So it's kind of bringing forth, like you said, the shadow,
Yes.
the subconscious and the conscious kind of into the forefront. And
Yes.
it's not putting your head in the sand and everything is hunky-dory and rosy. We're not saying that. There's work
No.
to be done, and
Oh,
that's
God.
what we need to do as a collective. And I think
Yes.
very much this Mercury Cazimi is also highlighting that.
Yes.
So, even though we were doing our rituals, our intentions, what we want
Oh,
going
sure. Of
forward,
course. Of
but the
course.
next 9 months is an opportunity to kind of work with what we're being presented with and where you
Yes.
want things to go.
Yes. Recognize the shadow. As you say, that's what Lucifer is about, the light bringer.
Mhm.
And interesting, of course, Venus in the superior conjunction, the evening star, is or is that the inferior? I always get it mixed up. Is she the evening?
This is
Yes.
This is
Venus.
evening star, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. It's Lucifer, and the morning star. Morning star is Lucifer, isn't it?
Yes.
So she, as a light bringer. So that's interesting. So that's, yes, it shows us. And we have to see it's in our unconscious, it's in our subconscious, it's our higher self is just the opposite of our lower self. And you have to balance them. You can't just eliminate one of them, which is a big mistake, and what the church tried to tell us, eliminate one, eliminate hell. But you can't
demonize Hades,
demonize. Yes.
Damn Persephone.
Yeah, exactly. And pretend
With
it
her
doesn't
dark
exist
ways.
itself, that you can be all good, and it's rubbish. You are whole, and the Christ consciousness is whole. It's not about being all good.
perfect. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Well, and the interesting, I wish Jordan was here because it's exactly square Cassandra.
Oh, wow.
One of her favorite
passions. Yeah.
Asteroids to look at.
Something about it next time, perhaps.
And what I know about her is that it's about speaking up and not being believed.
Right. Oh, Cassandra, of course.
Cassandra, yes.
Yeah, of course, the prophetess, isn't it? It's the Trojan War, of course, in the myth.
In the myth, yeah.
With truth as well, but combined with myth. Cassandra. Wow. Where is Cassandra on there?
Right down here with Pluto.
Oh my goodness.
6 degrees. Yeah.
Wow, and that's
so square
and it's square to Lucifer.
Yep.
Lucifer.
Oh, wow. That's incredible. So we'll have to see when does Mars get there, in fact. Wow.
Probably in a few days. I mean, it moves
few days, yeah.
3/4 of a degree a day. It's moving fast. Well, let's see, it's moving.
It's moving fast.
Yeah, it's moving fast. It's moving 3/4 of a degree a day.
18th, 19th, I think.
So
18th,
in a couple of days.
Yeah, like 19th. 18th, 19th, 6, 7, which isn't long, is it? It's next week.
No.
Interesting.
No, and that'll be, approaching the full moon too.
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
Which is in right after the solstice.
It's it's Saturday in the UK, but evening of the 21st in America.
Yeah.
Okay.
In Capricorn.
In Capricorn, 1 degree.
Yeah.
1 degree Capricorn.
Right after the solstice. I mean the day after the solstice.
Of course. Oh, well. That should be an interesting solstice then. It's like because of course that is the highest point of the sun, and it is the fall. It is the descent of the sun.
Things are gonna get darker.
Yeah, Yes. But we have torches to light the way. Hecate's torch.
Winter is coming.
Oh, yes, but
But summer is just arriving.
Yeah, true.
so if you've got no
For
air
us,
I mean, it's
for
all
us in the-
seasonal, you
In the
know.
northern hemisphere, anyway.
In the Northern Hemisphere, yeah.
right.
Okay.
How interesting. Wow, that's pretty momentous to happen around the solstice. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And I don't think I have that chart. Let's see. I'm not sure what I have next. Let's see. Oh, yeah, no,
Saturn.
I went out, yeah, to the end of the
So-
month when Saturn turns retrograde.
Like a week later or so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so yeah, so this is, just
Sure.
past the
Mm.
quarter.
Yeah, exactly. It's at 19, isn't
And
it?
this is isn't this the degree of the eclipse?
Eclipse.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Whoa.
Yeah.
So it's like everything's sort of coming together.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah.
And then we have, oh, okay. And so Cassandra is also retrograde. So I wonder if it goes back into Capricorn with Pluto.
Does it?
Probably.
So
and
we're doing
Actually,
a bit
Lucifer.
of gliding, as a bit of falling, but we have to remember we have our parachutes.
and Saturn is
Like a trust fall again.
Saturn is right at the bottom of the chart too. So it's, kind of at the base of,
Oh yeah. Exactly.
what's going on.
Yes. Yeah. Opposite what is that? Chaos?
Juno.
Juno. Okay. No,
True one,
chaos. Chaos is the other one,
Hera.
isn't it? Oh yeah, Juno.
Chaos
Mm.
is at the beginning of Cancer. It moves really slowly.
Right.
So it will be, so the
Opposite the full moon.
solstice will be with
Yes.
us,
Oh my God. Oh, that's something to know.
now that you mention it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Okay.
this is
Okay. Yes.
I,
Okay, look, it's got to get worse, as you said before it gets better, and we see, but we're seeing it now. We will see the wheels within wheels. We'll begin to
Mm.
see the machinations of all of this. That the wonder is also entwined with the, in some cases, terrible aspects. That there is always the saving grace. We'll see more and more the saving grace here, and the consciousness rise a little bit more. So we just need to bear that in mind, because we will be incredulous. I'm sure we'll be even more incredulous. Dogs. What?
yes.
At what goes on, but now we know we're sort of in the know now. We're no longer deluded. The illusion is not going to catch us. So as long as we bear that in mind, we will then see, okay, the truth that will show us, okay, but this is where the hope is. This is what the real intention is behind this. This is what's going to elevate humanity is behind this. It's going to show us more and more. And so having trust in that, even as things seem to get shittier.
Well, yes, and it just occurred to me, I don't know about other countries, but this point is very close to the USA Sibley Uranus. So I would suspect that there may be some
Right.
activation of the
Yeah.
populace.
Absolutely. Because where is Jupiter in the American chart, the US chart as well?
It's is it in Cancer?
I think it's a Cancer.
Is it?
Yeah, we've got a shitload of Cancer.
Yeah, of course, along with the solstice. And of course, there's the 4th of July, which is, I mean,
Right.
yeah. And of course, the sun, the sun's at aphelion now, which is, furthest from the sun. We're actually, I'm not going to go into details, but we are at the aphelion point in precession, as well as aphelion on the 4th of July, which is probably why the founding fathers, you know, who were Masons, chose that, the 4th of July. They did. They knew what they were doing. So
Yeah.
um,
Jupiter is in the 5th degree of Cancer.
Yeah.
yeah. So we
Conjunct
have to
Venus
realize,
at the 3rd degree.
and they knew full well that it would be the fall, you know, at the end of the age of Pisces. So we're getting the fall mirrored in the year as well as, yeah, which is the furthest degree from the sun. That is like the fall, because it's like we are going away from the sun now in our annual year, but we're also going away. We're reaching that point in precession as well, because once we've passed that point, then no, sorry, we reached that at the age of Taurus, because that was the solstice. Then we're now at the autumn equinox of the Great Wheel. So it's mirroring. It's saying, okay, but we finished. We're at the autumn equinox, and we are still descending. But as we descend, the moon rises, which is the Great Mother, which is the lunar consciousness that takes over, the consciousness of the feminine, of the night, of the intuition, that rebalances against that negative patriarchy, which was really about, which the ancients, the Hermetics, said was about the orbit. They knew about the orbit. They knew about the whole damn thing. This is thousands of years ago, Atlantis and all of that. And so they knew, you know, they certainly, they devised precession according to the science. And it's amazing now science can't ignore precession. They tried to, but they can't. And they can't ignore what the ancients taught, but they did remove the symbolic meaning of it. So we are at the stage where in the orbit, precessional orbit, we rise, the moon rises, the feminine rises. And that last stage was the fall. It was the fall of man, but for the last 7,000 years, in fact, we've been falling. And what we did, that's at the end of the age of Gemini, square to now, that was when the fall was, at the end of Gemini. The Great Father fell as the orbit. It's simply the orbit, which is amazing because it combines science. And that's what I always find, you know, it's amazing when you, it's terrible when you find that out, that actually science was just divided. Again, another thing separated, another duality made to confuse us and to deprive us of spiritual knowledge, the knowledge that the Atlanteans and the Hermetics knew about and left us, but in their wisdom knew would just be submerged for a while, and when they would, at the end of the age of the terrible father, with the moon, would start rising again, because of course they knew it. Yeah, which is inspiring.
Michaela, even in this chart, you've got your Ceres retrograde in Capricorn opposing Venus in Cancer. So you talk about the balance of the feminine against the masculine, and it's that kind of Ceres being that nurturing the masculine, meaning getting the balance right, that it's you have to embrace the polarity to have equilibrium. And in this Saturn retrograde, and that Saturn in Pisces for me is the reawakening of where spiritual beings having a human experience, remembering that, going back to that core message. It's not the other way around, the way the patriarch makes us want to think.
Absolutely. Yes, that's wonderful. And of course it's going to go back towards the sextile. Yeah, exactly. Wonderful. Yeah. So
we are at about 90 minutes, and I think somebody
and I'm going to have to go.
Somebody said they had to leave right around now, and
That's
I'm
me.
not sure where we are with.
I need to go to sleep too.
Okay, yeah. So why don't we pick this up on our next one, because this is where we're heading with the, you know, the Saturn turns direct, and Jupiter catches up, and they come to a square. So we'll pick this
got
up.
a lot to digest until then anyways.
Exactly. We've got a whole lot.
We have. But it's exciting, you know. to see it that way. It
I
is.
agree.
I can do with a little less excitement.
I know, I
And
know.
you put yourself at the hub at the moment. So
The astrology is always
Bring
so
me back to
dynamic
the
lately.
Shire.
you obviously can take it. So you're an Amazon, as we an Amazon from Atlantis. You can take
I
it.
appreciate it.
Oh,
I
yeah.
appreciate your faith in me.
I was gonna look and see where
Absolutely.
the asteroid Atlantis is right now. Just
Oh,
out
yeah.
of
that'd be
I think
interesting.
it's sunk.
Is that what you heard? It is, where are you, Atlantis? There's Hybris. Atlantis is 22 degrees Libra. Oh no, sorry,
Ah.
that's in December. So let's see where that's,
It's in Libra.
In
but
my North Node.
it is now in 22 degrees Leo.
Oh,
Oh,
okay. So it's sextile.
Oh, right on my Venus. Huh, yay.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, you were obviously a high priestess back then. I mean, you know.
I actually have the asteroid Atlantis down at the very bottom of my chart between my
Where's that?
south node and Mercury, the ruler of my south node. So yeah, I think
There you go.
I think I had something to do with it. I think I was there. What I
Oh,
had
yeah.
to do with it, I don't know, but
It'll
yeah.
all come back to you, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure all will be revealed as I
It will. It will.
we were all there in some way.
Oh,
Yes,
Absolutely.
I suspect so. I suspect so. And I love looking at, I mean, again, I love asteroids. So, I love
yes.
looking at, where they are and,
Yeah. They yield so much. I had no idea, really.
yeah. Well, I've
good
always
job.
had a fascination with Atlantis. I've always wondered, if, if I could figure out where it sunk, if I could go there and
And go back?
yeah, and
Look at
I
yourself.
think I also do think I have PTSD from, whatever it was, however it ended.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever seen the movie? It's like a animated movie of called Atlantis. Yeah,
No.
Michael J. Fox narrates it.
Yeah, I think so.
And
Okay.
they talk about what their theory is that the reason that it blew up is basically because of want of power. People
Yeah.
were grabbing power and
Oh.
so the movie talks about having the power of the crystals, and it was the crystals that blew up, which I thought,
Right.
Edgar Casey spoke on Atlantis a lot.
yeah, that he
Yes.
did. Yeah, I was really into Edgar Casey back
Yeah.
from the 70s, 80s.
It's
Yeah,
fascinating.
Back
Yeah.
into consciousness again, isn't it? So,
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
interesting.
So it's in Leo now. It'll be in Libra toward the end of the year in December when all those charts that I drew up in my Virgo frenzy
Next time.
come to
They'll be
pass.
used
Yes,
next time.
that's what I said, but we'll have plenty to talk about next time.
Absolutely.
And on that note, thank you all so much. I always enjoy these talks. We always go in unexpected directions, but
Okay, but it's great.
everybody's contribution is just wonderful.
Yeah, great input. Yeah,
Mhm.
great balance too. Wonderful.
Yes,
And
yes,
I'm so glad you managed to get on board finally, Raz. It's
Yes.
great.
yeah,
Yes.
They put
Meant to
now.
be today.
yeah,
Meant to be today.
Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah.
Balancing your Gemini moons, my Capricorn moon.
Exactly what we needed. Grounding.
yeah. Yes, we needed some grounding. We need some Saturn.
Well, unless electricity is grounded, it goes nowhere, does it? So
My
absolutely.
daughter loves Saturn as well. Like she has a thing for Saturn. She asks me about him all the time. She has him on her ascendant.
Oh, wow.
She was born with
Oh.
Saturn and Sagittarius on her ascendant, which symbolizes her crazy father turning mother, you know, in a way. The opinions and life view of that person.
Well,
It's
honestly, I
fascinating.
resonate with that because my Saturn is at the end of my Virgo planets, but at the end of the 12th house before the ascendant, that groundedness is what's kept me
Yes.
yeah, away with just literally not physically present to this reality because it can get, like you mentioned, a bit dark and depressing, and just realizing that we chose to be here at this time for this change, and that's what we're all doing together.
So in another strange connection, I also have Saturn in Virgo.
Really?
We're connected, so you know that.
I have Saturn in Sagittarius. Don't mind midheaven.
Okay, so we've got all
We
these,
have angular Saturns. That's interesting.
Angulars, yeah.
Mine's conjunct my North Node.
and yours
Is
is yours in Sag or Scorpio?
My North Node's in Sag, my Saturn's actually at the end of Scorpio.
Okay, and then they switch by progression, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Wow. Yeah.
Well,
Crazy, man. Well,
thank
again,
you.
thank you
Thank you so
guys.
much.
It's been a
Thank you all.
pleasure.
See you next time.
Yes.
You too.
Take
Bye.
care, everybody.